Hey guys, happy Thursday. It's a Throwback Thursday. About to throw it back. Alright, you guys, so of course, I have a story for you. I am just chilled out here in the living room right now. Had a beautiful little ambiance going, so I wanted to just chill out of here. The boys are off to an early night of sleep for the first time in a long time. My son be up making the most crazy noise playing this game, and I'll just be like, what? So the silence is appreciated right now. But anyway, guys, so I'm gonna pick up on this story where I left off, and I'm pretty sure I was talking about my new boo. But before I get into that, I just want to tell you guys a little more about the full circleness of my life. Like when I moved to Aurora, and when we got the place, actually, with the housing authority, my neighbor is actually another one of my best friends. Pretty much for the people that's really close to me know I have like 4 best friends. So if you hear me saying my best friend here, my best friend there, I'm talking about one of those 4 people. So anyway, yeah, so my second best friend, turned out I met her when I was a freshman before, even becoming homeless. And turns out when I moved in, she was my neighbor. So yeah, that was really nice. And so when my sister met my boo, she was actually talking to my neighbors. They knew who he was. So anyway, into this week's story. So yeah, when I met him, we just really were kind of chilled out for like 2 months, just getting to know each other more and really becoming close as friends. And eventually he asked me to be his girl, and I said yes. So things quickly escalated, and I ended up losing my virginity a few months later. Yeah, we were young and dumb, y'all. He told me he wanted me to have a child, and so we actually agreed to have our first child. And yeah, I got pregnant probably about 2 weeks later. My sister halfway wanted to kill me when she found out, but really she was just like, well, you grown now, so do what you want to do, girl. Take care of your responsibilities. So we had my first son, Ramir, and by the time I had him, of course, that was in 2007. So about a month after having him, living in my sister's house, things just weren't really, like I would want them to be. I was still living under rules and curfews and all kind of stuff. And I'm like, I got a baby with a baby daddy, and this ain't gonna work. So I actually moved out and moved with my other sister and her husband. They were living in Aurora too, but on the west side. So I was back to the west side. But anyway, we lived with them for probably about 2 or 3 months. When I moved in with her, I ended up getting my first job at Walmart. And I had recently gotten my nose pierced, and they had me take my nose piercing out. I was mad because it closed, but y'all see I got it back now. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So anyway, I worked at Walmart for about a month. I left there to go to like this warehouse job. I was working 12-hour shifts, y'all, kicking my ass. I used to hate that. I used to feel like my bone was coming out of my foot, but yeah, it was definitely teaching me some responsibilities. And little did I know, this is kind of where I first got into my little bit of entrepreneurship. I used to watch my sister because she used to do Herbalife when I was living with her. I used to watch her do Herbalife, and I never thought that I would be involved in anything like that. But anyway, I was like, I can't do this warehouse life, so I started selling Cutco kitchen cutlery that was not working for me. And then I started trying to sell fire safety kits, and I'm terrified of fire. Don't even know why I did that, but yeah, that was entrepreneur coming out of me. And so after those things just kind of failed and didn't really work for me, I got a job at Carter's, and around about that same time, me, my son, and their father moved in with his mom. So we stayed there for I think about 4 or 6 months. I can't really remember. But anyway, he was involved in a lot of mess, in the streets, just different things going on. So, we were trying to think of what direction we wanted to move our lives in. And so we collectively came to the decision that we wanted to move to Georgia. We were trying to go to Atlanta, but since I had a job at Carter's and his job wasn't going to be able to transfer, so I was trying to make sure that I had a job to go to once we moved. And so I had some cousins that also lived in the southern part of Georgia, like the last exit before you hit Florida. So anyway, long story short, my job transfer towards southern Florida came through first. Southern Georgia came through first. So we decided to pick up and pack our stuff up and move across the country. And so my sister that I moved with on the west side of Aurora actually decided to move too. So we moved to Georgia, and we were literally neighbors. You could put one door or 1 foot in my door of my apartment and another foot in her door of her apartment. We were literally next door neighbors. It was cool. So yeah, we moved to small town St. Mary's, Georgia, and come to find out, y'all, my job was like actually what was supposed to be 45 minutes away was actually an hour and a half each way. I was only gonna be making like $10 an hour. Needless to say, that was not gonna work for me. So I told them after one day of working there that I wasn't gonna stay. And so at that point, I quickly got a job because my children's father wasn't able to find work at the time. So I quickly found a job at a daycare. I worked there for about 2 months, and this town was so small, y'all. Like, the only thing that existed that was really worth anything was the Super Walmart, the naval base, because that's really the only reason this town existed, and this job called Express Scripts. And so Express Scripts was like the main, hottest, biggest, popular job, and kind of paying some of the most money unless you was working at a warehouse. So I applied there, and I just kept on getting a runaround, y'all. They were not trying to let me up in there. But I kept on going there and calling and checking on my application and stuff. And so finally the guy was like, you know what? Because you're so persistent, we're going to give you this job. So I got the job. They absolutely loved me. I used to always hit top ranks, of course, because I'm the best. And so after being there for a year, you guys, it was just like, we were really like, this town is so small, it's so slow. What are we going to do? Like, do we want to stay here? Do we want to go back home? Like, what do we want to do? So we were trying to check into places where my job could transfer me to. And so come to find out, there was a place in Orlando, Florida. And so we're like, yes, another big city, but still down south. So we started making plans to move to Florida. To our surprise, not planned this time, I ended up getting pregnant. Because we were deciding to move, we decided it was not really the best thing for us at the time. So although I do not believe in abortions, like I strongly do not believe in abortion, we collectively came to the decision to have one done. So I did have one done. I was like, my mind at the time after that was just not in a really good place. Like I felt empty. I felt I felt so many emotions, like a lot of voids, and uh, at the time, I didn't feel like my children's father really understood or was helping me cope with it. So I just kind of started talking to other people in my office, opening up to other people more, and eventually it just kind of put me in a headspace where we were growing apart, and I was ready to break it off with him, send his ass back home to Aurora. Um, yeah, it was kind of crazy, but in the midst of that, I slept with someone else, so it was really damaging to our relationship. Um, that was really one of the like worst points that we had in our relationship at the time. So it really put us, in a bad place. But after a couple months, we were able to work through it, patch things up, and so we still decided to go through with the move to Florida. So um, at that time, once we were deciding to move, um, his dad actually wanted to move as well. So when we went through with the process, his dad drove a truck of his things down and came and helped us do our drive to Florida. And so in next week's story, I will be continuing on and picking up with my new move and my new life in Orlando, Florida, as a Florida chick. So I just want to say, based off of, where I picked, with the story today, it's just pretty much, when you go through things in a relationship, it's a test of, I feel like, your will and your endurance in a relationship, and your love, and how strong your love can be to patch things up and work through your differences. So it's all about lessons and learning and growing, and making those decisions to keep on moving forward, which we did. So I will be, oh my gosh, here we go with those dings again. Oh gosh. But anyway, so I don't keep on getting dings. Yeah, next week I am going to continue about my new life. And I also want to say that, you guys, whenever you make a decision, even though it may go against something that, you believe, if it's just the circumstances, and sometimes you just have to, roll with the punches, but it might not be your most desirable outcome. Don't beat yourself up. Don't stay in those moments. Don't live in those moments, because that's what I was doing at that time. I wasn't in a space of healing. If anything, I was just adding to it. I was really adding on to it, but you guys, you have to release and let go. And I know it's not easy, but you stay prayerful, and like I said, just remain in a positive mind frame. Like, don't dwell on the circumstance, don't dwell on the situation. Try to always think of a positive to your situation or your circumstance, and I promise it'll help you get through it a lot easier. I was listening to Bob Proctor today, and he was talking about your problems and your circumstances, and how when you take them out of your mind and you write those things down on a piece of paper, and then it's no longer in your head, it's on that piece of paper, and you can really reflect on that problem from that perspective, and it minimizes the problem, because now it's not internalized, and now you can really use your thought processes of how to deal with those problems. So anyway, I hope you guys got something from this, or I hope it helps you. Maybe you might be in a relationship where you're going through with your partner you know, even though you may not see those things on the surface, you're able to work through and push through anything, especially as long as you are willing to. So anyway, that is my Throwback Thursday story today. I love you guys, and I will be back tomorrow for Forex Friday. I'll be too excited for the weekends, y'all. It's a shame, but hey, what can I do? Get this money up so I can retire. But alright, guys, I am out of here. Sayonara. Toodaloo. I really don't want to go tonight. I don't know, but I guess I will. See you tomorrow, guys.